Hi gang, Rob here. It is the afternoon of 26 December 2015, the day after Christmas. Coming to you with an initial knife review of the 2015 Christmas knife. Yeah, Heidi got this for me for Christmas. Sure she did. She always does, and it always seems to be exactly the knife that I want. And this year, it's this one. Well, what is it, you ask? Well, it is the Bark River Knives Featherweight Fox River with green linen micarta handles, red liners, and mosaic pins. And it's in Elmax. Kind of interesting. Let me tell you kind of why I wanted this knife. Well, as you guys know, a couple months ago I made a trip and a tour to Escanaba, Michigan and Bark River Knives. And frankly, I had admired their product from afar for a very long time, and seeing it up close and personal, blade wipe, I really fell in love. And I'm really not a fixed blade guy, I'm a folder guy, as most of you know. So I got back and perused the Bark River listings on knivesshipfree.com, the best place to buy knives, period. That is a trademarked slogan, by the way. Not necessarily my personal opinion, but they're awfully good. And the first knife I bought was the Gunny Hunter in Antique Ivory Martin Micarta, which is a little bit longer, a little bit thicker, Bravo series knife. Could it be an EDC blade? Yes, it could. Is it ideally suited for that? No, it's a little big and a little thick. So for my second Bark River, I really toiled between the Featherweight Hunter and the Bravo EDC, which would be that same sort of pattern as the Gunny, scaled down a little bit. But when we're looking at blades, in the 3 1/8, 3 1/4 inch range, and handles barely 4 inches long, the handle design becomes super important. And frankly, after having a couple of each in hand, I really gravitated toward the Featherweight Fox River, because using the most forward position in the finger choil, it is a 4-finger knife. And frankly, the Bravo EDC isn't a 4-finger knife for me. I wanted that option. I also like this pinch grip. In this grip, I'm going to put the point of the pommel right between my ring and pinkies, and I have sort of a backed up overhand pinch grip. And then if I want to come forward in more of a perpendicular orientation, blade coming more out the side of my hand instead of longitudinally with my bones in my arm. But if I'm in more of a forward grip, then I got a 4-finger grip in that way, which I might use for chopping up vegetables or really coming up tight on a piece of work. So I just thought for a small knife, the Featherweight Fox River was better suited for me as an EDC blade than the Bravo EDC, and the blade stock much thinner. I think about 85 thousandths on this knife versus 125, so an 1/8 of an inch stock or so on the Bravo EDC. And I wanted it to be a slicer. You guys know over the years I have had rather a love-hate relationship with this stuff, Elmax steel, from the Udelholm wing of Bowler Udelholm. I think Bark River has the heat treat on Elmax pretty squared away. We'll see, because it's going to be, this knife is going to be pressed into pretty hard service, cutting a lot of cardboard in EDC tasks. I'm not in love with Elmax for a large fixed blade, certainly, but in this EDC class, maybe so. It did give me an opportunity to improve my convex sharpening skills, and Elmax Elmax is a steel that using wet dry sandpaper and organic strap compounds, or aluminum oxide type strap compounds, will give you fits. I have added to my strapping arsenal one of those. That's a 0.5 micron diamond, and I've had that one actually a little longer than I've had this one. This is 3 micron diamond, and both of these exist in my strap arsenal really for the purpose of finishing the edge on modern super steels with large vanadium and tungsten carbides, and because I really don't know how I would effectively sharpen Elmax without finishing with diamond. I'm sure it can be done. I'm just not sure it can be done as quickly with as good a result. So here's kind of where we stand. I've got a problem with my blade orientation. There we go. Frankly, I need a new piece of paper. But frankly, I don't find myself yet able to get Elmax as sharp as I get A2. But I'm getting better, I guess, would be a fair assessment. I should have started with a fresh piece, guys. It's not near as difficult as I'm making it look. What I've found, and I actually, because it's Christmas weekend, I've found myself with numerous opportunities to use this blade. I sharpened it once, strapped it to a pretty scary edge, and it's still pretty scary, and then broke down a bunch of cardboard, and then just hit it real quick again on the 2000 grit sandpaper, and then restrapped. In fact, I probably should have restrapped again before I showed you guys this, because I think I did a little more cardboard duty with it. There's a better piece. So you can see, I think, that Elmax is more difficult to get a good razor sharp edge on than A2 in convex sharpening. I did actually thin this a little bit. I'm going to come in tight, but I sort of used the same process I've gotten used to using on these Bark River convex knives. I'll come in with a relatively coarse sandpaper, in this case 220, and kind of thin out the convex shoulder behind the edge, and then go at that same that same degree of spine tilt with 600, because that is the grit that the face of the blade, or the primary convex bevel, is applied with at the factory. And then you'll notice on this knife that it almost looks like it has a secondary bevel, but it doesn't. That shiny area at the edge is picking up the spine a little more, and then going through 1000, 2000 grit papers, and then the 3 micron and half micron straps. So it looks shiny at the edge because it is more refined at the edge, and it is still convex, although more steeply so, if that makes sense. This knife's still Murray Carter sharp after a lot of work. I'm not sure that I'm not sure this knife needs to be Elmax, or even that Elmax is going to be a significant performance improvement over A2, but we'll find out. What I love about this knife is its utility in hand. It's just wonderful. even in the hammer grip. And the hammer grip is definitely a 4-finger grip for this knife. The draw cut grip is super comfortable. You're really controlling the knife with this big pad on the side of your hand and the pinky and ring finger, and then the front end of the knife can kind of float and be positioned, but the foundation of that grip comes from the outside of the hand. It's really quite good. But I love this most forward sort of pinch grip for this knife. It's just a super controllable blade. And you know what I used it for today, I was going through double wall and tri-wall cardboard with way too much packing tape on it. It was just covered in adhesive and shards of tape by the time I got done. And that's kind of the life of this knife, and if Elmax stays true to its reputation, it should wear to kind of a toothy, jagged utility edge. Not going to be a super smooth paper slicer as it wears, but it'll still cut. That's the book on Elmax. Now let's look at the styling on this baby. I wanted it to be special, and it's Christmas. And I am a green micarta guy anyway. And I just thought red liners would be so cool for a Christmas knife. And take a look at these pins. If you look at the pin on the right, I'm going to try to get real close for you. Try to keep it in the light. There are sets of twin tiny rods or wire, inside and outside. And those are, I believe, stainless, and then the tube would be stainless, filled with some kind of a black resin. And then the sort of diamond on the interior of that pin is brass square tubing. Super cool. And it just looks great with the linen micarta. It's good in hand. It's really good looking. I love it. Just love it. Fit and finish, well, let's take a peek. As usual, as we follow the spine of the blade back onto the handle, everything is perfect. And remember, just by the process, our scratch pattern is going to be longitudinal, lengthwise on the blade, as we come down the spine and around the butt. And that's going to change to transverse just because of these convex surfaces. You can't do these any other way except coming across. So. And there is not a high spot, a low spot, a tactile seam anywhere in the handle. The pins are beautifully flush on all four sides, as is the lanyard tube. The butt of the knife is super square. Just done perfectly. There are a couple grind issues on this knife that I did notice, and this is one that kind of bugs me, gotta tell you. Come in close and let's look at where the plunge grinds terminate. A noticeable difference. This side much farther back toward the handle than this side, and if you look right here above my thumbnail, you'll see that. That makes some issues trying to sharpen the base of the edge. Now, I did not do any kind of a sharpening notch or a choil on this knife because I knew I was going to sharpen it convex. And guys, I toiled with this. I really did. Because it's an Elmax blade, and because I'm very comfortable sharpening Elmax on my Edge Pro, and because it's kind of a thin knife, and because it's an EDC blade, I almost used this flat and this flat, which would provide a very stable platform on the Edge Pro, regardless of this convex primary bevel. I almost notched it and sharpened it with a V-grind. I actually have sharpened a couple knives of this size with V-grinds for my customer Scott, and I think he kind of likes them that way. Um, I'm not ruling out that I might do that to this knife. Don't disinvite me back, Mike, because I said that. And if I do that, I'll never show you. Of course, I'm speaking of Mike Stewart at Bark River Knives. I get the convex geometry, I really do. And it is pretty darn easy because I used this knife pretty hard in the last 24 hours and on an edge that I was pretty proud of, and had to come back and do a little touch up, and 5 minutes at the bench, 2,000 grit paper and a couple strops, and I'm back in business. So I get it. I understand it. What you have with a convex edge is a knife without any shoulders or corners as it's slicing through material. If you think about it, you have a primary bevel, you have a secondary bevel, and then you have a micro bevel, all in a smooth curve. If you have a full flat ground knife, then a secondary bevel, then a micro bevel, you're kind of getting to the same place from the same place, but instead of having it be all in one gentle changing radius that gets the most steep at the tip, which is exactly what that first set of geometry does, we're doing it without any corners. I should have drawn you a picture, but I think you can get it. It makes the knife just a silky, silky, smooth slicer. And if you're going into wood, if in a whittling motion, I'll kind of show you, it'll bite very deep. Look at that. There's no shoulder. It just goes and goes and goes. Do that again. I mean, that's convex performance right there, guys. I just set that thing into that piece of wood, the full height of the blade, at about a 30-degree angle. Notice how that wood parts without getting hung up. Watch this. Out it comes. I don't know if you can feather stick with that though. Probably not. Well, maybe you can. Yeah, I guess you can. I was kidding. I knew you could. So, it's kind of an all-purpose kind of geometry edge. Most Bark River knives are knives that you would sort of put into that category, wouldn't you? All-purpose fixed blades. Survivability, fightability, utility. A great all-around edge that's very, very easy to sharpen in the field. After doing that woodwork, I don't know if it almost seems like it's sharper than it was. Can that be possible? I don't know. Got a little bad spot in the paper over there. And this is like my worst paper, my hardest to cut paper I've used for these tests. So, I don't know. Seems to be doing okay. I really kind of wish this plunge grind issue wasn't here, but it's awfully sharp all the way back. So that's another thing about the convex paradigm. You can have a pretty jacked up base of the edge and get creative with angles of attack and arcs on a convex edge and make a knife sharp that has some imperfections in the primary grind, which is kind of cool too. Oh, the sheath. I didn't show you the sheath. This is it. It's sort of that bushcraft style sheath that encloses most of the handle. I usually put it in until it just passes that last pin, because that tip will run into the welt down here around the bottom eyelet, and I don't want to blow through that welt and start butting my tip up against the eyelet, because it's kind of a small welt, as you can see here. It fits great. I would not hesitate to neck carry this knife. It takes a pretty good amount of force to get it out of there. It's very secure, very easy to draw. You know, mine is a left-handed sheath because I ordered it that way. There is no horizontal carry option, but it's so high and tight when you carry it vertically. It's not bad at all, and it actually works very well in the front pocket. The knife kind of lays like this in your pocket, so the outside corner of the pocket is about here, and you can sit down, and the natural bend of your leg is here, and it's not uncomfortable at all. It works great. So vertical belt carry, in the pocket carry, it is superb. I would definitely think about necking this knife if I were a neck knife person in this sheath. You can use this eyelet to do that, no problem. And maybe it'll get looser as time goes by, but it's definitely not going anywhere. This does have a coat of Obanoff's leather protectant. I do that to all my leather sheaths. Thanks for the tip, Campfire Talk. And you put it on there. What I do, I don't warm it up or warm up the sheath. I just apply it with my fingers, and I get it working until I get it a little warm and greasy, and spread it around and get it into all the nooks and crannies. You can see here's a little bit of dried Obanoff's right here. And then I let it dry for a couple hours, give it a quick buff with a cotton cloth, and it comes out nice and sheeny. Well, that's what this surface has been. Great stuff. I like the sheath a lot. My 2 3/4 inch belt is a little tight in that loop, but it does it okay. We'll see after daily carry of this knife for a few months how I like it and whether it keeps this convex edge. I kind of think it will. I'm getting to be kind of appreciative of what I can do with my convex setup and my ever expanding understanding of how convex edges are supposed to be, which has been a great journey to this point. Really like this knife, guys. It sort of looks plain, especially if you imagine it with just stainless steel Corby bolt pins. I wasn't in love with this area of the knife at first, and I thought, man, that's kind of thin. Well, turns out this grip at the front of the knife and this thin blade end up being what sold it to me. What's next? What's next for me in Bark River? Ooh, how about that 1909 Michigan Bowie 10-inch blade in A2? That might be it. The Rising Wolf, if I wanted to go with another EDC size blade, that could be it. Decisions. They just make so doggone many beautiful knives up there in Escanaba. If I could get this to sit right, I'm not going to be able to. There we go. Almost. I'm going to leave you with that shot. So that is the end of the preliminary or initial review of the Featherweight Fox River from Bark River Knives. An EDC fixed blade I'm going to love, I think. And I've been searching for several years for a fixed blade that I really want to put in the EDC rotation. And this is it. A couple contenders have come and gone. This is the one. That is all for today, my friends. Hope your Christmas season is continuing to be blessed and merry. I'll talk to you soon. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word is sharp.